Today on the Bang Away Says podcast, we're going to be discussing YouTube running an experiment where they display 10 unskippable ads and other stuff too, so go ahead and stick around. We are going to start with the absolutely insane news that YouTube just wrapped up an experiment where they were displaying up to 10 unskippable ads for viewers. That's right, up to 10 unskippable ads for viewers. When I heard this, when I saw screenshots of this, I said, there's no way this is correct. This is just clickbait nonsense. This is photoshopped. This is one of YouTube's competitors trying to destroy their brand name. Nope. Seems to be accurate. 9 to 5 Google got confirmation from YouTube that this occurred. Like always, I will link that article in the episode notes and description in case you want to read a little bit more. One takeaway from that article for me: the max length of the ads in that 10 unskippable ad break was 6 seconds. So the max length of the unskippable ad break would be 60 seconds or 1 minute. But that raises questions for me. I pay for YouTube Premium, so I don't see ads on the platform. I tried to find what the standard unskippable ad break was, but I couldn't find any information on it. The only article that I could find discussing this was again from Google, and it states that the max length of an advertisement that can be unskippable is 15 seconds. So on one hand, if the typical unskippable ad break is one 15-second ad, I think they will get a crazy amount of pushback here. But on the other hand, if the typical unskippable ad break is 4 15-second videos, that would mean the typical unskippable ad break currently is 60 seconds. Nothing has changed. The amount of time that you would be spending watching ads is the exact same. 60 seconds for the 4 15-second unskippable ads, or 60 seconds watching the 10 6-second unskippable ads. But like I said, I wasn't able to find what the typical unskippable ad break is. So if you watch YouTube and you are one of the select few that doesn't use an ad blocker and you don't pay for YouTube Premium, I would love to hear from you. What is your experience with unskippable ads? How long is that ad break typically? Is it 60 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds? What is it? But regardless of how things are currently running on YouTube, I have seen a lot of pushback and anger about this on Twitter. People saying, I can't believe this, 10 unskippable ads, that is insane. And yes, that is. Even if the current ad break for unskippable ads is identical in length to 10 unskippable ads at 6 seconds, there's going to be a psychological hurdle that YouTube has to overcome that I don't think they'll be able to. I think that a viewer would be much more okay watching 4 15-second unskippable ads as opposed to 10 6-second unskippable ads. Just the idea of having to watch 10 advertisements as opposed to 4 is such a big hurdle, a big barrier to overcome, that I don't think the average viewer is going to be okay with it. But that's from me, a content creator, and me, a power user on YouTube who pays YouTube to never see an advertisement ever. My opinion doesn't matter. All of the other content creators who are angry or upset or concerned about this, their opinion doesn't matter to YouTube. The power user of YouTube's opinion doesn't matter to YouTube. What does matter to YouTube, or at least what I imagine matters to YouTube, is how the average viewer's behavior changed when they're presented with 10 advertisements. Does this alter their view session? Does it lead to them clicking off of the video, off of the platform, or are they okay with it? Because view session is incredibly important to YouTube. View duration is incredibly important to YouTube because the longer the view session, the more ads YouTube can show. Now they have data, they're able to determine exactly how many ads they can show people before they click off. Is it 2? Is it 7? Is it 5? 10? How many ads can you show people to maximize the amount of revenue you earn without making people so upset that they click off of your platform? This was just an experiment for them to determine how best to maximize revenue, to find the most effective and efficient way to display as many ads as possible, because the more ads they display, the more auctions they're able to run for your attention, for the audience's attention. The reason I'm saying all of this, yes, we may be concerned. Yes, we may be angry as content creators, as power users of YouTube. They don't care about us. They don't care about the controversial news channels on YouTube screaming about this, saying, this is the worst thing. They're trying to destroy the platform. They don't care. They don't care what we say. They don't care what the power user of YouTube says. They care about the average consumer, the average viewer of YouTube who just downloads the app, doesn't know how to sign in, doesn't know how to thumbs up or thumbs down, doesn't know how to leave a comment, has no idea what the entire hullabaloo was about with the dislike counter, because the average viewer doesn't care about the dislike counter. The average consumer, the average viewer, just searches, how to pot a plant in my apartment. They find a video, they watch it. They may watch 5 unskippable ads and not think twice about it. For those of us who spend hours a day on YouTube, we will notice that difference and say, this is unforgivable. YouTube is trying to kill itself. They're not. They're not trying to kill themselves. They are trying to improve the platform in terms of making money. They are trying to make as much money as possible. And hopefully, that leads to better experiences for everybody. Hopefully that leads to more improvements on the platform, better services, better features. Or maybe they'll just give themselves big bonuses. I don't know. I don't know what goes on in the inner workings of YouTube, but that's my take on it. There's going to be a big psychological hurdle to overcome if they do want to display 10 unskippable ads. Even if it's the exact same length as the current unskippable ad break, there's going to be a barrier to get through. I will happily watch 4 ads, but if that little number at the bottom says 1 of 10 ads, I'm out. I am out. But now they know. Now they know what the exact number is to maximize revenue while limiting the amount of damage it causes to the typical watch session. Without harming watch session, how many unskippable ads can we show to maximize revenue? That's it. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. Do you think this is going to destroy YouTube? Oh my God, they're destroying the platform. No. Or do you think, yeah, it is what it is. YouTube's going to do whatever they can to make more money. And if you do actually see ads on YouTube, let me know what the typical unskippable ad break is. Because I don't know. I give YouTube money. And I learned today, there's a lot of people who use ad blocker. Thanks for the support, guys. Really appreciate it. All right, that is it for the news. Now let us jump to what I've been testing. You have been listening to it. I said the thing. If you are watching the video, you will see a purple box on my desk. It is not covered by my microfiber cloth. It is the Apogee Boom. Big bada boom. Lilu Dallas multipass. Chicken good. Why did Lilu Dallas just became a douchebag? But this is the audio interface that I have been using the last 4 weeks, I think. It's the new audio interface from Apogee. If you don't know, Apogee is a higher-end audio interface manufacturer who is known for their high-quality converters in this thing. I have not torn it down. I don't know the inner workings of this stuff like Julian Krause. Julian, get this thing and tear it down. I want to see what A to D converters they're using. But the thing that they are marketing this as a differentiating factor is the fact that it has DSP processing compared to the SSL2 and 2 Plus, which has an analog button to just turn on some processing. What are the other ones? The Mo2M2 is one. Audient Evo 4 or Audient ID 4. Why can't I think of the others? The Universal Audio Volt is what I was trying to think of. All of those just have one setting for their processing, just on or off. Or I guess with a 276 or 476 or whatever from UA, it has a couple of different compressor settings, but you get the point. This allows you to have much more granular control. That's the differentiating factor here. 300, but also full disclosure, Apogee sent this to me to review. They don't get any input on anything that I say about it though. I do have a lot of thoughts about this thing. You'll have to watch the entire review coming on Podcastage in a couple of days. I do wish it had another preamp because it only has one XLR combination jack. The second input is your instrument input. Then I have an issue with the outputs. I don't want to disclose too much, but watch the full Podcastage review, which will come out in a couple of days. That's what I've been using the last 3 or 4 weeks on the podcast. Whenever I have had an interface in the description that says NA, or if you have seen in the video, the microfiber cloth covering something on the right-hand side of the screen, that was the Apogee Duet. No, not Duet. Boom. Big bada boom. That's right. Okay, what else am I testing? You have been listening to... I did it again. Don't tell Alan. Don't tell Alan what I am using or that I like this. I am on the Neumann KM184, which is a small diaphragm condenser cardioid microphone. The reason I don't want you to tell Alan is I am distance miking overhead, just barely out of frame, just a little popping right in the top of the frame. And Alan has been saying, oh, you need to do distance overhead miking. And I am 1 foot away. You need to do that some more as you hear cars revving their engines outside. One big drawback to distance miking, that's going to be significantly louder than normal. The reason I am doing this and playing with this, my mind, all of my preconceived notions about miking and position and distance were just shattered when I set up a figure-8 ribbon microphone and mic'd myself from 11 or 12 inches away, and it sounded phenomenal. Now I just don't know what to believe anymore because that should not have worked. That should have sounded terrible. But it didn't. It worked incredibly well. Now I'm reassessing everything. I should use small diaphragm condensers and do distance miking, do overhead miking and see if that works. Oh, I should revisit lav mics and try to understand how those work. Am I completely mistaken on lav mics just not sounding good? Chances are I was right because going back and doing a bunch of tests, they sound kinda rough compared to a normal mic like this. But that's why I'm using this at a distance. Don't tell Alan. Sound speeds, don't tell him. I don't want him to get the satisfaction of me saying, yeah, you were right. I didn't say that. That wasn't me. That was a ghost. It was a body snatcher who took over and made me say, yeah, I guess Alan was right. Don't tell him I said that. Okay, that is it for what I've been testing. That is it for the news. Now let us jump to what you had to say. And the first comment comes from Alan, aka Sound Speeds. And he says, since you asked for someone that produces audio and film to answer about the 15K roll-off, I will oblige on their behalf because I may be the next best thing. If memory serves, the loudest frequency a human voice has ever been recorded at was around 17 kilohertz through 7th and 8th order harmonics, but don't quote me on that. Humans hear most comfortably along the A weight curve. Bandrew, can you put it up on screen? I've turned into Jamie from Joe Rogan. Hey, Jamie, pull it up on screen. Thanks a lot, Alan. You're now the host of the Sound Speed Says podcast. Goodness gracious. But yes, it will be on screen. This is the frequency range the human ear is best tuned to, with you hearing frequencies best between about 2 to 3 kilohertz. You hear frequencies between about 250 and 11 kilohertz up to 10 dB lower, and it falls off the farther you go to either extreme. In 2010, I was working on a show called Drop Dead Diva, and our post-audio editing team was mainly made up of older guys. While watching the show, during the one scene, the sound mixer and I noticed a high-pitched noise only when one actor was on screen. Thinking back, this was because an 18K light was being used on one actor's coverage but not the other because the cameras were looking different directions. My mixer reached out to post and told us that they were rushed to get the sound done in time to air, so they didn't have time to run all the processes they wanted to on the audio, and one of those was high-frequency roll-off. They couldn't hear it, so the audio went out with that loud ringing. They fixed it before it re-aired. Another thing to consider is that if you are producing content for streaming services, they often don't pass audio above a certain frequency range, and sometimes it's different if you go mono versus stereo. Dave Rat tested YouTube with frequency sweeps up to 50 kHz in 44.1 and 48 kHz mono and stereo, and he revealed that YouTube aggressively rolls off frequencies above about 15.7 kHz if stereo and 17.2 kHz if mono. If they don't even bother with audio way up there, why should you? Yes, air frequencies are above 12K, and air does give your audio a more open sound, but 15 kHz is perfectly acceptable. Even lower, in my opinion. I wouldn't sweat rolling off above 15 kHz. Many movies will keep dialogue rolled off far lower than that to make room for the rest of the mix. And there you have it. I successfully baited Alan, aka Sound Speeds, into replying with that in-depth response. I win. I win this round, world. He gave you all the information and research, and I just had to read it. Poorly, I might add, but I had to read it. He did the research and the clickety-clack. The thing that I found most shocking about this, I knew about the 15 kHz roll-off because Alan did a video about that a couple of years ago on YouTube, and that's why I started uploading higher quality M4A audio of my reviews to my website, because that doesn't have that 15 or 17 kilohertz high pass or low pass filter rather. It doesn't have that, so in case somebody wants to hear the full frequency range, they can go to my site and hear that. But the thing that blew my mind was the difference between stereo and mono. It makes sense due to the file size, but I had never considered that. Stereo goes up to 15.7 kilohertz, mono goes up to 17.2. So if you want to maintain the highest amount of fidelity in your spoken word audio on YouTube, 48 kilohertz, or was it 44.1 that went up higher? 44.1 or 48 kilohertz at mono seems to be the way to go. But there you go. That's the response from Alan in the film industry. All right. Next comment comes from Cujo, and he says, "The YouTube educational video player sounds really good to me, and I can see the benefits if you run an educational focused channel and want to set up your own website and put said educational videos behind a paywall where you control and access payment, etc. This lets you keep posting to YouTube for free and get all of the benefits of using YouTube while being able to monetize your content off of YouTube by using the special video player that removes all of the distractions and things that would bring people away from your website back to YouTube. If used wisely, this can be an added source of revenue separate from YouTube while still maintaining the same workflow that content creators have been doing since the beginning." Joe, thank you very much for the comment. I just so happen to agree with you completely. This new feature, when it rolls out, could be leveraged by a content creator massively. I am not denying that. I don't think I denied that last week. My question was, what's the incentive of YouTube to do that if they don't earn any more money? Why are they developing this if it's going to drive people off of their platform and decrease the amount of ads, decrease the watch session? It just doesn't make sense. So to me, there has to be some kind of financial incentive for YouTube to do this. That's why I was proposing the idea that YouTube would roll out an entire educational ecosystem with the quizzes and the educational videos, so institutions like universities or high schools or middle schools could use YouTube to host their videos, run quizzes on the platform, on the community tab, tie that into the Google email addresses that all of them have, all these schools use because they use Chromebooks, and now the entire educational ecosystem is within YouTube. There's a lot of data there. That's a lot of information for YouTube to suck up. It's drinking the data milkshake of everybody. Drainage! That was a terrible Daniel Plainview, but you get the point. That's one way they can monetize it. Another way they can monetize it is charging. Charge these institutions which have massive budgets. We may not think it because You always hear, oh, they don't pay well. They have massive budgets in the grand scheme of things. They could afford a $10,000, $20,000 license to do this, to pay for this service from YouTube, and they would get a massive benefit and probably save money by not having to pay the local IT guy, except for the Chromebooks, because Chromebooks still need upkeep, if I'm not mistaken. So the IT guy would have to focus on, or IT girl or woman would have to focus on the Chromebook upkeep until YouTube and Google just completely eliminate that requirement as well. And then YouTube will host the videos, they'll run the quizzes, tie that to the email. It's just a perfect ecosystem of data collection. That's my take on it. But you're right. If it is not paid, content creators could leverage this big time and get a big benefit from it. Great take, Joe. Appreciate it. Next, we have a comment from Joel8X. He says, using YouTube as your paid course platform is so damn dangerous. Imagine if your account gets yanked because of whatever random reason, just like what happened to Bandrew, and now you lose your course platform as well. No way. Joel, thank you very much for the comment. This is an outstanding point that I cannot believe that I didn't make last week, because this is right in line with something that I've yelled about over 100 times over the life of this podcast. Diversify your income streams. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't just earn all your money from YouTube. Don't just earn all your money from Amazon. Do as much as you can to earn money. Have merch. Do affiliate links. Do courses, paid courses on a separate server. Do all of that stuff. But there's one thing to consider. If all of your audience is on YouTube, what kind of increase in conversion rate can be expected from having a little button that says, buy a course now? A little paid course recommended video on the side of every single one of your videos. What kind of increase in revenue will that lead to? And then that content creator has to question if that increase in revenue, if that increase in conversion rate is worth the additional risk. I think you raise a very good point. Don't put your eggs in one basket, because we saw even if you don't do anything wrong, YouTube can just kick you off. Luckily, it was resolved, but yeah, you can just get kicked off. Also happened to a watch channel. Just one more watch. His channel got booted too, for no apparent reason. Again, he got it back. It was resolved. Wasn't resolved on YouTube. He had to go through other third-party social media services to get it resolved, which is still crazy to me. YouTube and Google are some of the biggest platforms in the world. They still don't have a good way to communicate with them. You have to go to a third party. You have to go to Twitter to get it resolved, which is just stupid. But yes, very good point. Don't put your eggs in one basket. Next, we have a comment from TJ Hallam. He says, Bandrew, as a data scientist, I think your idea to, quote, play the YouTube game, end quote, for a month to see if it makes a quantifiable difference is a great idea. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely agree that your normal approach makes for much more authentic and viewer-friendly experience, but it would be a fascinating experiment to see if playing the game results in a measurable difference, and if so, how much. Just promise, no matter how much of a difference that it might make, that you will go back to your authentic, viewer-friendly way of doing things, i.e., if the metrics are eye-wateringly good, don't become a sellout. TJ, thank you very much for the comment. You heard it here. TJ approves of my experiment, and I heard a few other comments as well, or I read a few other comments as well that said they support this idea as well, just purely out of curiosity. I make no promise. I'm going to quote one of my favorite quotes in anything ever. One of the most obscure things I ever quote. It's an MXPX DVD, and it's the drummer, Yuri, where he was talking about how all of their fans were calling them sellouts. And he's just walking a couple of pugs, and he just says, selling out? What's wrong with that? And I don't know why. That stuck with me for well over a decade. Actually, I'm going to include that clip right here.
They're just so mad at us for doing something so stupid, like selling out. I mean, what's wrong with that?
And there it is, one of the greatest moments in any band DVD of all time, at least in my opinion. It has been burned into my brain. It is indelible ink that's just written there forever, just carved into my skull. Selling out? What's wrong with that? And on one hand, yeah, properly selling out, sure, that's pretty bad. Just giving up your entire artistic vision. But on the other hand, in the punk scene, if you just have any modicum of success, you're a sellout. You need to remain underground, starving, struggling for your entire life. You need to be angry all the time. If you're able to afford a home, if you're able to afford having a family, heckin' sellout. So that's why I like that so much, because it's kind of spitting in the face of that punk mentality, where if you have any amount of success, you're a sellout. With that being said, I make no promises, TJ. I plan to sell out hard. When you see me wearing that solid gold, moonshine gold Speedmaster on my wrist, hanging out my Lamborghini with a paid supermodel on my side, drinking a $10,000 bottle of wine, driving down Los Angeles Boulevard to my mansion, gonna be hard to give that life up. Because you know audio gear. Audio gear leads to that kind of success. It's why I got into it. It's why I got into it. It's why I bought all this stuff. Because spending the money, smart financial decision. I make no promises. Yes, I will go back to my typical titling and thumbnails because I don't want to make content that I don't want to make. But when you see me with that solid gold, when you see me with that solid gold Omega Speedmaster, yeah, you'll know I've made it. And I'm never going back. I'm never going back to a life where I can't wear solid gold watches, my friends. Never. It is my right as a YouTuber, because I spent all my $1 million checks from YouTube on a yacht. Can't even afford to live on it anymore. Speaking of yachts, the next comment comes from Stargate Pioneer. I say that because SP loves sailing videos. He says, "Hey Bandy Boo, it's SP, longtime viewer, first-time commenter. That's not true. I heard your EDC consumer thoughts. While I do not disagree with the majority of your thoughts, there are areas like mobile phones, computers, cars, podcasting gear, and tools that I like to stay informed on because all these things are goods that wear out over time. Once they do, I want to make the best informed decisions on what to buy to replace it so I'm not stuck with something that doesn't really fit my needs or last as long as I really want it to. Keep up the show, we're all depending on you. No pressure, really." SP, thank you very much for the comment. I really do appreciate it. If you don't know, SP, aka Stargate Pioneer, please call me SP, runs a show called Better Podcasting, which I was just a guest on. They've been on a hiatus for a while, and he's been doing an interview series. I will link that in the episode notes and description in case you want to check it out. If I remember, on YouTube, I will put a little pop-up card that takes you to the video because there's a video version of the podcast, in case you want to check it out. I want to address something. The reason I went on that rant last week was not to say that people should not watch. I was not trying to say that people should avoid watching content discussing the latest technology, the latest knives, the latest anything. If it brings them joy, if it helps them stay informed, to make more informed and educated purchasing decisions when the time comes, more power to you. Go for it. Even if the videos do make you want to buy a bunch of stuff that you don't need and you have the disposable income, I'm not here to be your daddy. Ew. I'm not here to tell you how to spend your money. That was so gross. Ew. I don't want to tell you how to spend your money. If you have the disposable income, spend it however you want. I was just explaining my situation where I don't have the willpower to watch a lot of these EDC videos because I see the latest Swiss Army knife release. Oh, I see the latest phone case, the latest wallet that has this new material. They were able to add a little pocket here that has a little SIM card thing in it. And I'm not able to avoid it. I am just losing my damn mind. I don't have the willpower to not want to buy that stuff. So it's more about understanding your personality, understanding your abilities, understanding your shortcomings, and avoiding situations that might put you in a difficult position. It's exactly why I don't go to bars, because that would put me in a difficult situation. I am very stubborn, but I don't know if I would be able to say, yeah, I don't want to have a beer sitting at a bar for 12 hours, so I'm not going to go to a bar. Just like watching 15 EDC videos in a row, sure, it may be fun. I don't know if I'm going to be able to have the willpower to say, I'm not going to buy that new wallet. I'm not going to buy that new flashlight. I'm not going to buy those new headphones even though I did just buy new headphones and a new Apple Watch. That's beside the point. That's because when I walk, my AirPod just clicks whenever I step because I dropped it and it's out of the Apple Care. But that's why I upgraded that in the Apple Watch, because I have an issue. I have an issue with watches. 3-day battery life? Yes, please. As opposed to 18. Beside the point, I don't think I have the willpower, so I don't want to put myself in a situation where I have to really force myself and retrain myself and say, no, watch it. No, you can't buy it. I don't know if I have that willpower, because it's fun buying new little trinkets and saying, yeah, I would like a new pocket knife. Yeah, how does that new carabiner work? How cool is that? How neat. And it may be $5, $10, $15 here or there that adds up over months and months and months, over a year. It's a lot of money on stuff you don't need. So to bring it all around, my rant last week wasn't saying nobody should watch this type of content. It's saying I can't watch a lot of that content. And I'm putting it out there because I'm just ranting. It's the Bandrew Says podcast. Maybe somebody relates to it and they don't feel so alone in their inability to watch certain forms of content or types of content because they don't have the willpower to not say, yeah, I need to fill that hole in my life, that void. Let me buy something to try to fix that issue, because I can't go to therapy. All right. Thank you very much, SP. Appreciate you. And go check out that podcast in the episode notes description or on YouTube, the little card, if I remember. The final comment comes from Eric Nathan. He says, don't buy things, but hey, here's this microphone I've been testing. Eric, thank you very much for the comment. I don't know the intention of this comment, if it is intended to be some kind of actual criticism, if you're just mocking me. I don't know what the intent of the comment is, so I'm just going to explain what I do again. I've done this about 1,000 times. I like to do it every now and again to remind people, because I don't want to be viewed as somebody who's pushing just overconsumption, crass consumerism, new shiny thing must buy. I don't want to be that. So the purpose of my review videos is not to be a shopping list. It's not intended for somebody to watch every single video and say, okay, he said he would recommend this for this, I'm gonna buy that microphone, and then at the end of the year, they bought 52 new pieces of gear. That's not the intention. The intention of my review videos are to be there, be a resource, be a library. So when somebody is researching a microphone or a piece of audio gear and trying to determine what the right purchasing decision is, the data is there for them to access. They can watch it, they can hear comparisons, and make a more informed decision. The reason I mention what I'm using on this podcast and why I use stuff on this podcast is because I like to use the stuff that I'm reviewing. I know, crazy idea. Look out. I like to use the microphones that I am reviewing. I like to use the interfaces that I am reviewing because it allows me to get real-world applications, to use them in a real-world application. In my reviews, I don't include processed audio. I do process this podcast, compression, EQ, all sorts of stuff. So now people can hear how microphones function when they are processed in a long-form 30-plus minute show. So you may think, oh, look at him just being a complete hypocrite. I'm not denying that I'm a hypocrite. Absolutely. I'm a hypocrite all the time. Don't act like you've never seen a hypocrite. Don't act like you're not a hypocrite. Everybody's a hypocrite. Don't put that on me. But even though I am a hypocrite, I am not doing these things to try to push people into a position where they say, oh, I need that new I need that new device so bad, I'm going to go into debt. I need it. I don't want to do that. That's why I've made videos, hey, watch this before upgrading. I have made videos where I say don't go into debt multiple times. I've made a bunch of videos like that. That's why I make videos like that. So think what you like, Eric. Appreciate you. Just thought that would be a good excuse to reassert the entire purpose of what I do on YouTube. Okay, that is it for what you had to say. We have one submission. Let's go to my favorite part of the show, the Ask Bandrew segment. Welcome to the Ask Bandrew segment, the segment where you ask Bandrew, who is me, and I answer you, which is the submitter of a question. If you want to submit a question to be asked to me, go to askbandrew.com, askbandrew.com, askbandrew.com. Instructions on how to send in audio, video, and text. I do prefer audio and video sub 1 minute because that gives you a break from me reading, and we get to hear how you sound on your equipment, which is always a fun thing. I always love hearing how people select the gear, what gear they do select, and how they sound on it. Just another point of reference for people. Okay, we have one submission this week because I was going to try to keep this short, but nope, ended up being a very long episode, at least for filming. That submission is from Jaden. Jaden, take it away, good sir.
Hello, Bandrew and fellow podcast enjoyers. There's been something that's been eating away at me for a while now. Bandrew, on a couple of previous episodes, you mentioned something called LUFS. Most of my audio experience comes purely from OBS, so the unit I usually have to worry about is the dB. Now, what's the difference between a LUF and a dB, and is it something that everyone should be acquainted with?
Jaden, thank you very much for the video submission. I really do appreciate it. To reiterate the question you ask, what is the difference between decibel meters and LUFS meters, and do you need to use the LUFS meter for OBS? First, the dBFS meter is measuring the actual amplitude of the signal at a set time. At this exact moment, this is the decibel reading of the audio. This is the amplitude of the audio. LUFS, or LUFS, loudness units full scale, is going to provide you with the measurement for perceived loudness. So for example, a dB meter would say, at this exact moment you hit negative 2 dB, then the next moment you hit negative 18 dB, then negative 12 dB, then negative 30 dB, then your noise floor is negative 62 dB, negative 70 dB, whatever it may be. That's useful when you are setting levels, trying to make sure you're not clipping, all of that. But as far as the LUFS meter, that is going to take multiple measurements and average them over the entirety of your recording. And instead of saying at this exact moment, this is how loud your audio was, it's going to give you the perceived loudness of the entire recording. So if you're trying to create a standardized output level for your audio across multiple platforms, across multiple episodes of your show, LUFS is incredibly helpful. Do you need to use this for OBS though? No. There's very minimal cases for online broadcasters where this is essential. If you're working in TV broadcast, film broadcast, or publishing music, yes, this does come into play because there are standards for TV broadcast, radio broadcast, for film, I am sure, for music on different streaming platforms, Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Music. All of them have different standards that you have to abide by, and a lot of them are set in LUFS or LKFS, which, if I am not mistaken, is very similar to LUFS. For podcasting, there are certain podcasters or producers who are trying to push for a standardized loudness, which would be negative 16 LUFS for a stereo podcast or negative 19 LUFS for a mono podcast. But as far as actual standards, there aren't any. There are no requirements for publishing a podcast. Just listen to 12 podcasts, all going to be all over the place in terms of loudness. I would like to think that my podcasts are going to be consistent from episode to episode because I do level to negative 16 LUFS. But I'm sure there are other factors. There's a bit more silence, a bit louder of a pop here or there that lead to that being a little bit skewed and having minor discrepancies from episode to episode. So do you need to use it for OBS? No, you don't need to. Unless you are doing TV broadcast, radio broadcasting, publishing music to Apple Music, Spotify. Nope, you don't need to do it. It's just a way to measure the perceived loudness of the entire recording as opposed to the immediate amplitude of your audio signal at that precise millisecond, at that precise moment. Hopefully that was helpful. I don't know. There are much more informed people on this because they have to abide by this if they work in post houses, if they publish to TV, if they do film, if they do publish music to Apple Music or Spotify. They're going to be much more informed on this. I don't have to live to the T. Is that a thing? I don't have to live by the rule because I publish podcasts. I can be loosey-goosey with it if I wanted. I could do negative 12 LUFS if I wanted and just blow people's speakers out. People would hate me, but I could do it. All right. That is it. I appreciate the voice submission or video submission. I appreciate all the what you had to says. Let me know what you think of the YouTube thing in the comments on YouTube. Do you think they're stupid for doing this? Or do you think they're going to find a way to make as much money as possible? They're just going to be filling their money bags. All right, that is it. I appreciate you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Bandrew Says podcast. I love you. You are a beautiful, amazing human being. People like you. I'm not going to make any typical jokes. Oh, here's an American Psycho meme. Okay, I love you. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will talk at you. Have a great week. Talk to you then. Bye-bye. Whoop, boop, 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 boop. Boop.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.